My name is Robert Jordan. I am a retired news anchor and reporter here in Chicago. I worked at WGN Television for 45 years. I've covered all kinds of stories, big and small, so I know the city and the atmosphere and culture here as well as anyone. Ask any Chicagoan what might be the most important year in the history of this city, and you'd probably get an answer of 1893, a time when Chicago hosted the World's Fair. It was a period when this scrappy city took its place on the world stage. But forever linked to the history of Chicago is also a mysterious character, someone described as the incarnation of pure evil. A person who confounded the police, enthralled the press, and who upended what Chicago thought it was a century ago. His legacy continues to haunt the city to this day.
In the 1890s, Chicago had outgrown its status as a wild frontier city. It drew immigrants and dreamers, and drove capitalism and innovation. Its meatpacking plants fed a nation. It was the city that invented vacuum cleaners, zippers, and the brownie. In the 10 years up to 1890, Chicago's population doubled to over 1 million. Its architects looked upward and created the world's first skyscraper city.
At the end of the 19th century, Chicago was, to my mind, and all I have learned, crazy. It was a town of unbelievable hustle and a lot of unbelievable hustlers. The sheer number of people, when you look at old photographs of Chicago at that time, of course there are no cars in them, but the streets are so jammed with wagons and horses and people, I think it would have been terribly intimidating, even for some sophisticated New Yorker or from some traveler from London.
Chicago went from being the swampland on the edge of Lake Michigan to the second biggest city in the country, basically like that. It's something that had never really happened before in that way in human history.
It had recently recovered from a fire of only about 20 years before, then more or less wiped it out. And it's completely rebuilt with modern skyscrapers, electric lights, wide boulevards and parks. And so someone entering the city at that time in the early 1890s would be at the forefront of what life was like in the United States.
One new arrival to the city is a 25-year-old doctor named H.H. Holmes. Once here, he saw this as a place to build a fortune. Almost immediately, he has success and is employed by a pharmacist.
It's not long before he can convince the owners to actually sell the business to him. But really what he's trying to do is amass enough money that he can open his own establishment, which he does across the street from this pharmacy.